Welcome back to the Go Slow to Go Fast podcast. I'm your host, Kendra Chapman. And today, in this episode, it's a special one because I'm celebrating a milestone year for myself as I'm turning 50 in February. So this journey has been all about finding balance, embracing simplicity, and living intentionally. In today's episode, we'll explore how to go slow to go fast and how that philosophy continues to guide me through this chapter of my life. In segment 1, I'll share what's bringing hygge into my life this week, organizing my pantry, and this is something that I will share at the beginning of each of my podcasts moving forward. What's bringing me hygge, because that is the focus for this year for me. That's my word for this year, hygge. In segment 2, we'll be diving into personal practices that I've embraced to stay well as I enter into this new decade of 50. And in segment 3, I'm going to share how you can connect with me online and share feedback about what you'd like to hear more about in the coming episodes. So grab your favorite drink, coffee or tea, something warm on this January afternoon, if you're listening to this in the winter, and let's dive in. So grab your favorite cozy drink and find a comfy spot, and let's dive in. So segment 1, I'm going to start every podcast now, moving forward, in highlighting what's bringing me hygge, that feeling of being cozy, which is that Danish term that I spoke about in episode 1 that has, I think it's taken off in Europe right now. It's pretty popular. I don't know if it's really hit the States yet, but if you're out there listening in other parts of the world and you know what hygge is and you add it into your practice, then great, we're definitely on the same page. And if you haven't explored that term, you don't know what it is, it's really about being comfy and cozy. And so how can you make that work for you? I'm going to talk about how I make it work for me and what's making me feel hygge right now. So in this week, it is the beginning of 2025. It is January. And so I'm posting this third podcast basically in the third week of January of 2025. And hygge is something I'm going to continue to talk about all throughout the year. So you may get tired of hearing about it, but it's something I want to focus on because I want to bring that into my life every day, to my little practices that I make cozy and comfy throughout the day to make my life better. And so right now, organizing my pantry and kitchen is bringing me hygge. And one way I do that right now is glass jars. I definitely have gone a little overboard with the glass jars. So I can't say I'm keeping it simple with the glass jars, but I'm definitely enjoying them. I'm going to just pull an example over here for you to see. So when I have all my baking stuff together, I know how many cupcake liners I have because they're in one jar together. And so I went through and organized my pantry a couple of weeks ago for the holiday as I was making a lot of candy for people, my staff and my team and my kids' teachers and the bus driver and all the people that we wanted to thank at the end of last year. I wanted to make sure that I had things organized. And so I had a lot of candy and baking things that I had to go through. And now I'm putting things in glass jars. So it's amazing what you can get into a glass jar. And I think it looks nice. And they're easy to find right now. You can find them in just about any store. I also like the vintage glass jars that are different colors. My thing right now is one of my colors is turquoise. And so if I can find a turquoise, an old antique turquoise ball jar, I'll buy it. if it's in good condition. So I've been collecting those too. I think I have like 3 right now. I just like the way they look. And so that's what's bringing me hygge right now, not just the glass jars, but the idea of organizing. Because when I can streamline the things around me, I'm going to feel more hygge, more comfy and cozy, and then I'm not thinking about how messy my pantry or my kitchen looks because I know where everything is. So it's a process. I'm slowly putting things into glass jars, and right now I have a few on my kitchen counter that has like sugar and flowers and powders and things all displayed in my glass jars. And, 2 things. I can see when I'm about out of something if I use it on a regular basis, like my collagen powder for my smoothies. I have it right there by the smoothie machine, and I can keep track of how much I have. So I like that. I can see it. I can keep track of it, and it's easy to use because it's right there at an arm's length. When I'm making smoothies, I can just grab and go. And it makes my routine in the morning a lot easier. And it just looks nice. I think it's pleasing to the eye, and it's my aesthetic for my style in my kitchen. So I have I have soapstone and in the kitchen, and my cabinets are blue, and I just like the look of the glass. So yeah, it's definitely something bringing me hygge. And then I can see what's left if I'm running out of something and add it to my grocery list. So that makes things much easier on the weekend for me because I typically do my shopping on Saturdays so I can food prep for Sunday. All right. So, and I've also been keeping track of just a few recipes that I really like in my journal for the year. And I've been adding some soup recipes to the journal, and I can keep anything that I make in bulk in glass jars and put them in the fridge. So that's great. And another, I guess you'd say hobby that I'm exploring is sourdough. I've got a starter, and it's a whole thing. And I've got a couple of starters in glass jars. I have like the main starter that I use for bread, and then I add the flour and the water to it when I need it. And then if I have excess to pour off, then I use that for pancakes or cinnamon rolls or something. And so I have 2 jars. I have the starter jar, and then I have um, the leftover, basically starter jar that I can use for my daily baking for the kids. So I'm not really eating pancakes and cinnamon rolls, and bread that much. But if I do, I feel better about it because it's better for you using sourdough. And you can check out sourdough starter recipes online. There's a ton of them on YouTube if you are curious and you want to know more about that. It's literally just flour and water, equal parts. And you mix them up and you leave them on your counter, and then you decide how much or how little you want to use it. And if you don't have time, you put it in the fridge and just take it out when you need it. So it fits my lifestyle because it's pretty simple and easy to use when I need it. And so, yeah, those are just a couple of ways I've been using glass jars. Taking this next step to organize and beautify my kitchen, it feels like a small act of self-care too. So it's a reminder that even those everyday tasks can bring a sense of peace when I approach them with intention. All right, as I step into this new decade of 50, the next part we're going to talk about is making sure that I reflect on what it means to be really going slow to go fast. Because for me, it's about being mindful of the practices that keep me well and aligned with my pillars of intentional living. And I talked about those pillars in episode 2. So if you want to check those out and you didn't hear that episode, feel free to go back and listen to that. But recently, I would say I'd say about 6 months ago, I took a food allergen test to better understand what was causing my inflammation, because I'm somebody who has a disorder. It is something that I deal with all the time. Um, and so this autoimmune disorder is basically, it presents like arthritis, but it's in my joints, but not all my joints. And it's called ankylosing spondyloarthritis. And I've been dealing with it for a good 10 years. It's been flaring up. Um, the triplets are 10, and I had issues with inflammation before I was married and had become pregnant, but it definitely showed itself when I was pregnant, because that was a lot of stress on my body. And then since then, I've had at least one more other flare up. So I'm having to really think about that as I move into my 50s, just thinking about the foods that cause me inflammation. And here I am thinking in the last like 5, 6 years that if I just stick to a very simple diet, kind of that, like, I like that diet, like a Mediterranean diet is kind of the thing I've been doing for a long time, probably 10 years or so. I've had olive oil in just about everything I've made. I've kept, grains and fruits and low carbs and meat, red meat and fish pretty much at this as the center of my diet. And come to find out, when I took that allergen test where I just sent follicles of my hair off in the mail, it came back and told me that there were certain vegetables that caused me inflammation, and they were vegetables that I ate on a regular basis. Olive oil was causing me inflammation. So I had to really rethink about what I was eating, consuming on a regular basis, and take it out of my diet for a while. And I just went on basically on Amazon and ordered um, one of those kits where you can send your follicles off and check for allergens. And I'll make sure I put that in the show notes, the link to that particular um, brand of test if you want to look at it further. But it was really eye-opening to think all these foods that I've been eating, I thought that they were healthy and they were great for me, and really they were causing inflammation. So I've since taken all of those inflammatory items out of my diet, and I have been feeling better. And it was right before I became a principal. So last summer, in the summer months, I had decided to go back into the principalship in July. Well, May, July. And so I did this test around that time, and I said, I'm just going to go ahead and do what I can to feel less inflammation, because I know I'm going to be on my feet more, leaving a desk job to go into being the face of a school, being out there in front of the community. I definitely needed to think about my health and what I was putting in my body every day. So that has definitely helped. My body feels better. I'm incorporating different foods. So just an example, instead of olive oil, which causes inflammation, I use grapeseed oil, and that tastes very similar to me. It's an easy substitute. I like the taste of it, and it does pretty much the same as olive oil would in any recipe that I've used for the last 10, 15 years. And that's just one example of how I've replaced an inflammatory item with a non-inflammatory item. So it does give you, if you take one of those tests, they usually give you a list of things that are causing you inflammation and things that are not. And so consider the not list as something you can start putting into your daily shopping list or weekly shopping list. So turning 50 has also been a time to double down on those pillars that keep me grounded. And so I would say, besides my health, making sure that I get that nourishment every day, that's where I'm eating for fuel and not reward, right? I'm not intentionally allowing myself to have chocolate every night while I'm watching TV, or having a burger every Friday because I like burgers and fries. And so when I've had a hard week, I want to have a burger and fries. I'm really thinking about, instead of like looking forward to those certain foods that I've always liked in my life, I'm thinking about what I just need to fuel my body. And so being intentional about every bite is helping me. We'll see. in 30, 60, 90 days where I am. But with that right now, it's been working for the last couple of weeks. So I started that probably right after around Thanksgiving, and I've kept that going. So it's definitely been 6 to 8 weeks now that I've been thinking more about nourishment instead of reward in my foods. And so also stillness, taking time to meditate and reflect each morning is something that I have done probably for the last 5 years. There are times where I do it more regularly than others. And so I'm definitely bringing that back to the center of my practice. I'm back on a 21-day challenge where I'm working with a particular thought leader that I like to listen to. And she has an app that you can access on your phone. I've got a couple of her books, and it's a lot of the same messaging that she has in her books that she has in this app. It's really easy to use. If you're interested, I'll put her information in the show notes too, that you can look at this, but there's lots of people out there that are doing similar things. You just have to find the right practice that works for you and your values and what you like. But I definitely lean more towards the spiritual side of learning and speakers that I like to listen to, and podcasts. A couple of podcasts that I love to listen to for prioritizing my meditation and reflection each morning is the Chani Nichols app. I really love her. She is great for meditations. She has a really calming voice. She has weekly podcasts, and she has more of an astrology approach, and I like astrology. It's something I've always been interested in, and I continue to learn and absorb the information that she shares in her podcast. And she has an app that's really interactive and can be very like individualized for you if you sign up for her membership. And so I've done that for myself for a couple of years now, keeping track of my week to week based on astrology. But there's also Gabby Bernstein. I like her messaging around just using the universe to tap into the universe and thinking about connecting with everybody out there, all the energy, right? There's more than enough for everybody. And she has books like on super attracting and manifesting that I've really taken to heart. And so I am using her 21-day challenge right now. So I'll put some information in my show notes about Chani Nichols and Gabby Bernstein if you're interested. But those are just some things, those are just some practices that I've incorporated into my daily routine. And I definitely do them more than others. But right now at the beginning of the year, it's a good time just to refocus. And so besides taking time to meditate and reflect each morning, I'm also prioritizing those daily movements. I'm thinking, as a principal, I'm walking a lot, going up and down stairs. I probably walk 3 to 5 miles a day, and it's great for steps, but I also have to make sure I'm taking care of my joints since I have my disorder. So I have to make sure that I'm wearing comfortable shoes, and I can't wear the same shoes 2 days in a row because I feel it. So I have to switch them up. So I have a couple of different pairs that I like. And so just really prioritizing my walks and stretching to stay active is really helpful. But I have to think about my wardrobe and definitely my footwear too. But I've shared that in my first podcast that I really like Rothy's and Clark's. So those are two that I love. And they do have I'll make sure I put links in the show notes if you want to explore those a little bit more and see if they really are truly worth the money. In my perspective, Rothy's are worth all the money and more. I love them. And I actually have a couple of pairs. I think I have like 6 pairs, but I have probably 3 to 4 pairs that I wear probably too much that I need to space out and rotate better. But they're great because you can put them in the dryer. You can put them in the washer. You can wash them in the washing machine. You just can't put them in the dryer because they will shrink. And so you just air dry them on a towel like you do a nice sweater that's made out of natural fibers that shrink if you put them in the dryer. Because they're made out of water bottles, which I think is even better for the environment, right? So prioritizing those parts of movement has definitely been helpful in my practice. And yoga is something that I want to revisit because I have incorporated yoga into my practice for a long time. I used to go to actual classes in person before 2020, but since 2020, I've really been just looking on YouTube for some great teachers who have lots of different options. And so I follow Sarah Beth Yoga. I'll put her information in the show notes as well. I love her yoga practice that she offers because she has lots of different videos. You can do as little or as much as you want. And I love how she says, the light in me honors the light in you, or the light in me sees the light in you, because that is really what namaste means. It's one meaning of namaste. If you have ever taken a yoga class or you've seen one online, it is based on a religious perspective tied to Hinduism and Buddhism, but that's not how I incorporate it into my life. I really just added into my spiritual practice that incorporates the breathing and setting intentions for the day and helping me do my movement and stretching and building strength. So according to the yogapractice.com website, namaste is a Sanskrit word that has several nuances, and one common, deeper meaning is the light in me honors the light in you. And so that's that understanding that ties to why I end my podcast with a similar phrasing where I say the leader in me sees the leader in you. And so that just ties in all the pieces of my yoga practice and also this podcast in connecting with like-minded people like you, the listeners out there. I just want you to know that I do see this podcast as something, it's a messaging platform that I can share as a leader in the world. And I hope it helps you. And if you're here and you're still listening, then I think this is probably a message that's resonating with you. Yoga reminds me to connect with my purpose and contribute something of love and light in the world. And so that is one of the reasons why I've started this podcast, to build that positive community amidst the negativity that we often encounter in the world. So by ending each episode with that phrase, I aim to create a shared sense of purpose and connection with you, the listener. And last but not least, in this section, as I turn 50 in February, which is less than a month away in 2025, I want to think about how I'm relaxing and incorporating fun into my day. And so finding joy in small, simple pleasures like organizing my space with glass jars, or spending time with family around the kitchen table or outside on our farm is just a few ways that, or a couple of ways that I can make sure that this milestone isn't about perfection, but about progress and staying connected to what truly matters. And so now in the last part of this podcast, segment 3, how you can find me online, I want to make sure that we have an opportunity to connect. So before we wrap up, I want to share that there are ways that you can connect with me for more inspiration on living in the Go Slow to Go Fast lifestyle. You can find me on my YouTube channel at Kendra Chapman Living 123, and that's Chapman with a P. So KendraChapman 123, Living 123. You can find me on YouTube at Kendra Chapman with a P, Chapman Living 123, where I share videos on everything from simple living tips to wellness practices. I'm posting these podcasts in video form there, and be sure to check out my website at coachingwithkendrachapman.com. That's where I'll share my newsletter if you sign up with your email, and this will provide you with some resources if you're interested and some coaching offerings to help you live intentionally and find balance in your own life. So, as I embrace 50, I'm reminded that life isn't about rushing to the next milestone. It's about savoring the journey. I hope this episode inspires you to find your own hygge, stay mindful in your practices, and embrace whatever season of life you're in. And with intention. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Go Slow to Go Fast Lifestyle Podcast. And if you enjoyed this, I hope you consider sharing with a friend or two. And possibly going to my website and subscribing and sharing it with a friend as well. Let's continue to grow this community of intentional living together. And until next time, the leader in me sees the leader in you. And as you head into this next week, let your light shine through. Take care and enjoy the journey. Thank you for listening.